Hey there, Tommy Larkin here with Om Fitness and Yoga. Welcome to today's Tweak of the Week, hands, wrist, and arm alignment. Today's tweak is about proper placement of the hands to ensure appropriate bend and alignment of the wrists and arms. But before we start, let's take a moment to understand why positions like building muscular awareness of our forearms and hand placement are so important. There is an adage which states, form follows function. What I've come to realize through my practice and years of teaching is without proper function, we lose integrity in the form. When we lose integrity in the form, we don't gain the vitality of the function. When I'm developing programs for clients, I don't simply look at how much strength or flexibility is available. I'm looking at the integrity of the positions we are performing. Because without proper integrity in our form, which includes the mental attitude plus the physical alignment and balance between body parts, we can't increase the strength or flexibility one might be desiring. So through this basic concept that form and function are unilateral to each other, we not only build someone's strength and flexibility, but we can increase one's power, range of motion, mental acuity, and start to achieve greater vitality. Now let's get into today's tweak. To ensure proper function of the wrist joint, we need to understand hand placement in relation to the arm. This hand placement is the relationship of hand to forearm, while maintaining a neutral bend in the wrist joint. By turning the hands to maintain this relationship based on the action of a given pose or exercise, we greatly reduce the risk of injury to the wrist and the tendons which route through the joint. Let's take a look at the pose plank and the exercise of push-ups. Now there are many variations of push-ups. Here we're going to look at the yoga style called Chaturanga Dandasana and the standard Western style version. The difference between these is the angle of the arms in relation to the shoulders and chest. Thus, to do a yoga style where the elbows stay in next to the torso, the wrist crease needs to be parallel to the front of your mat. Conversely, the Western style where the elbows extend wide from the torso, the hands need to be turned in slightly so the wrist creases stay perpendicular to the forearm. So you may be saying, Tommy, how do you determine the proper hand placement then? I'm glad you thought of this question and are asking it. The crease of the wrists, when bent, need to be perpendicular to an imaginary line from the wrist to the base of the fingers. This line is quite easy to determine by doing the following method. Extend your right arm straight out in front of you, palm facing down. Now bend the wrist to point the fingers towards the ceiling, palm facing away from you. Make sure the wrist crease is parallel to the floor. Now using your eyes or your finger from your left hand, draw a perpendicular line from the wrist towards the fingers, starting from the base of the wrist closest to the thumb. For a large majority of people, this line points through the webbing of the peace fingers. It's okay if yours does not, but once you find this imaginary line, you will know how to place your hands down for the best form of a pose to thus gain the most functional benefit. So let's see what that looks like on the mat. First, let's look at the incorrect ways. Many people have been told to make the index or the middle fingers parallel to each other. In some cases, this will work, especially if one of those respective fingers are actually perpendicular to the wrist crease. But the real problem occurs when doing more than just plank. In plank, it's so neutral of a position, you can kind of get away with misaligned hands. It's when you change position, that's when the real issues start to happen. As an example, here's a quick look at the wrist for a Western style push-up I frequently see. See how the outer side of the wrist and palm are overloaded with body weight? I have to work harder to keep the thumb side of the palm grounded. This overall position puts undue strain on the outer portion of the wrist and compresses the tendons. This can be uncomfortable and lead to pain and injury. In addition, the hands, arms, and chest have to work in a compromised manner, which means you do not actually gain the most benefit from the push-up, i.e., lack of proper function due to the lack of form integrity. So what is the correct way? For a standard straight arm plank, the wrists are parallel to the front of your mat. So if you were to lower down into Chaturanga Dandasana, the yoga style push-up, the crease in my wrist would stay perpendicular to the forearm and elbow. This position of the wrist is also used in downward facing dog and most arm balances you practice in yoga. In comparison, to do the Western style push-up, I need to adjust my hand so the wrist crease stays perpendicular to the forearm and elbow when I lower down. What is important here is to understand where the elbows are going to be in the form of the pose or exercise. This will generally dictate how the hands should be positioned to keep the wrists in a neutral position. If you like today's tweak and would like to see a specific topic, pose, or exercise covered in our Tweak of the Week, shoot us an email with your idea or question. To do so, just visit the Connect page on our website, omfay.com. That's omfay.com. Also, as a reminder, we're initially sharing the Tweak of the Week in our newsletter, Get Optimized. So if you want to be among the first to receive each week's tweak, sign up today. You can do so at the bottom of each page on our website. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed what you've learned and that you're having an amazing day. And let's get optimized.